Alright, let's start off with some of the tools that we're going to need. First thing you're going to need is a cleaning rod. If you buy a new pistol, it'll already come with one. If you buy a cleaning kit, it may have a modular one along with some brushes. You can also get a dedicated rod. Next, we'll need some brushes. If you do buy one of those cleaning kits, it'll come with the bronze brushes, which are fine. I tend to prefer the plastic brushes. These have a little bit stiffer brushes and last a little bit longer than the bronze or copper ones. Next, we'll need some cleaning brushes for the rest of the firearm. If you buy a cleaning kit, you'll usually see one like this. It has a big end and a small end to get into recesses. Those are fine, but once they wear out, they're a little bit more expensive to get. I recommend just getting a toothbrush from the dollar store, and you can replace these, and it doesn't cost very much. The only thing I would say stay away from are the bronze or copper brushes. These are for certain types of firearms and more advanced cleaning tips. For pistols, you're never really going to need a metal brush. More than likely, you'll end up just hurting the finish on your firearm and causing more wear prematurely. I also like to have a bunch of Q-tips for cleaning into small spaces. You'll see some gun videos and some people not recommend these. Instead, they'll recommend cotton swabs specifically for gun cleaning. They're more expensive. And the reason why is because the Q-tips tend to fray a little bit. I don't really think that matters very much. We'll continually use a rag to help wipe surfaces, and it'll wipe off the traces of cotton. So I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Another thing I find helpful is some type of scraper or crevice tool. I 3D printed this one. It really helps get into little nooks and crannies with your rag and clean spots that normally are a little bit more difficult. There are metal ones out there. I would say stay away from those. Again, you'll scratch and mar the plastic or metal on your pistol, and so definitely if you want to have one of those, get a sturdy plastic one. Next, let's talk about cleaners and degreasers. My favorite cleaner is the Slip 2000 gun degreaser. It's water-based with a little bit of ammonia, so it's non-toxic, non-hazardous, and it works really well. Second to that, I just use 90% alcohol, and I've used that for many years, and that works as well too. As far as lubricants, I use a combination of gun oil and gun grease. My favorite is this product from Lubricant, which is the same product that they use in the food industry for metal machines such as meat grinders. And so it's also non-toxic and works really, really well. The product that I would recommend second to that is Slip 2000s. It doesn't work as well, but again, it's a lot non-toxic and non-hazardous, so it's great for the pets and children that you may have around the house as well. You'll also see people using the break-free CLP. If you have nothing else, this is just fine, but it doesn't work as well as some of these other products, and I often see people both cleaning and lubricating with it, which leaves a lot of excess oil on the gun, which isn't good for it either. There are other products out there, and you're welcome to try what works for you. This is just what I've found over my years, kind of doing armory work, and what I feel works the best and also. Alright, we'll start it off with taking our pistol. We'll want to make sure that the magazine is not in there, that there is no round in the chamber, and then we'll want to field strip it as per the manufacturer guidelines in the manual. Once we've stripped down our pistol, there's not really any particular order that you have to go in. I tend to go starting with the frame and working my way to the slide. First, we'll start off with the frame. I'll take my brush and either dip it in the cleaning solution or spray it on the brush, dab it on the rag just to help get rid of the excess. I usually start with the outside and start working my way in. By dabbing it on the rag, you just make sure that the excess isn't always in the firearm and that you're using just the bare minimum needed to actually do the cleaning. So I'll brush it and then I'll wipe it off. I'll use Q-tips to get into small areas, or I'll use my crevice tool wrapped around my rag. Also, don't forget to get the magazine well. A lot of powder residue will make its way down in there. So make sure to get all four sides and all corners, and then you can just wrap your rag around your brush and kind of clean it out as well. Once you're done with the frame, we'll move to the recoil assembly. That we'll just try and get in between the spring. Some of these will be a captive spring and some will be uncaptive. The biggest difference is captive springs won't generally come apart. You'll leave them together, which is just fine. One of the things I like to do is also wrap it up in the rag and compress that spring, getting that rag in between there and helping clean off the different rings of the spring. Now on to the barrel. We'll want to make sure that we clean the outside really good, all the way around. If you have a threaded barrel, you do want to make sure to get those threads really well and preserve those to have your fun devices on the end. You also want to pay attention to this feed ramp. That's what helps for the semi-auto pistols. It helps ammunition loading into the barrel, so you want to make sure that's good and clean too. Once we've cleaned the outside, we will move to cleaning the inside of the barrel. For that, you will need your cleaning rod and brush and your jag. One of the things that you want to always do is clean the inside of the barrel from the breech to the muzzle, and always with some type of cleaning or lubricant fluid. You don't really want to harm that inside. That's what allows your bullets to fly straight. So I'll rotate the barrel every couple of strokes, making sure that in case I'm producing uneven pressure on any side of the barrel, that I'm not just sitting there creating a scrape inside the barrel. After some brushing, you'll take a patch. Your jag will either have a point at the end, in which case you'll just put it over the jag and run it through, or it'll have a slot. If you have a slotted jag, you'll just put the corner in and pull it through slightly, and then flip it over. You'll do several rounds of cleaning the barrel and running a patch through until you have very little dirt. Some people will sit there and do it all night until there's absolutely nothing on the patch. I'll do it just to where it's very slight on the patch, and making sure to go all the way through, and that's still quite a bit. So we'll keep going. After you're done cleaning your barrel, one of the things that I'll do, since we've already got our tools out, is put a little bit of gun oil, just a few spots on there. I'm not going to completely douse it, but just a few spots on your patch. I'll wrap that around the jag and run that through the barrel. I'll do that a couple of times, making sure I get gun oil on all sides of it. And that's something to do just to help protect it while it's being stored and for next time when we use it. Next, we'll hit our slide. Again, not really overdoing it, but we'll do both the outside and the inside of the slide. The outside's really important because of the sweat on your hands has oils and salts that'll help degrade the finish over time. So we want to make sure to really clean all that off, in addition to the gunpowder residue. Again, we'll want to put as little on our brush as possible, trying not to have too much excess sit down in the slide. You do want to be aware of the rails. For this one, they're on the inside. This is what helps it slide along the frame, and so we want to make sure to get those really good. And that's where you can use a Q-tip or your crevice tool to really get in there and clean a lot of that gunk out. That's what's really going to help your firearm operate at its best. As you're cleaning your slide, you do want to be aware of the breech face on the pistol, which is this surface. I like to clean it kind of facing down. It does have a hole in there for the firing pin to protrude. That just gives a chance for any moisture or gunk to fall out of there and not get stuck in there. Now that we've got everything cleaned, we'll go back in reverse order and lubricate everything. Again, I use a combination of the grease and gun oil. I usually put the grease in areas of high wear. As you use your pistol, you'll see where that is. One of the common ones is right here at the top of the slide, and that's way too much. You really just want to have a light layer of grease. Same with oil. We're just trying to have a light coating on stuff and not really trying to have it dripping or have big globs of grease everywhere. Another oiling point is this rib, which rides along your safety disconnect. I'll usually put a little bit of grease there, spread that around, and then for our rails, I'll put a little bit of grease or a little bit of oil, one tiny drop in there. Use a Q-tip to run it down. Don't put a big old drop and try and let it run down itself. Just put a tiny little drop at the front and again at the back, and use that Q-tip to run it down there. You really don't want to over lubricate this, and just have enough to really make sure that it's got a light film of oil. Coming back to our barrel, we'll just use a little bit of gun oil on the outside. Use a patch to kind of spread it around. Again, we're just trying to get a slight film on there to help protect the metal and help the parts slide as they need to. And then I'll put a little drop on this locking lug. Spread that around with a Q-tip. For our spring assembly, we'll just put a small drop of oil at the beginning, small drop of oil on the back, and then we'll use a cleanish rag to kind of work that all the way around. If you do have a retainer device like this HK, you will want to put a small drop on it, making sure that you kind of move that all around. And then on the reciprocating parts of the locking lug. Now for the frame, We'll use a little bit of oil or grease on these tabs, which engage with the slots on your slide. Even though we've already oiled the slide itself, we do want to make sure we have a little bit there. Again, not a lot, just a little. This helps lubricate and protect those channels. And we really don't want any like dripping down off of it. We just want a slight good coat, teeny tiny oil spot, and then a little bit on your disconnector and your hammer if you have one. And that's about it. With polymer frames, there's really not a whole lot of spots to oil. So that's about it. And then we'll reassemble the pistol. Once you've reassembled the pistol, I also like to use kind of a terry cloth or a clean washcloth and wipe it off. At this point, I'll put a little bit of oil on the outside. And again, just a tiny drop and work it around. Protect the outside of this pistol. Also, don't forget, clean your magazines. This is something that's often overlooked. Yes, you need to clean them. Yes, you need to oil them. You'll just go around the outside, getting off all the gunpowder residue, making sure to get the follower at the top. Really good. Use your rag, wipe everything down. And then you'll do a slight drop of oil on all four sides. Again, using a patch or a Q-tip to kind of spread that around. That's about it.